Hey, welcome back. So this is going to be a kind of a recap of a scary vehicle where I didn't cause a broken ignition, but I was super careful and super mindful of what and how. So it's going to be a Honda Accord. It's a 2003. Pretty good definition, but it's heavily worn. So let's go ahead and look at the Gymkhana. First Gymkhana pulled that. We have 6.6 and 5 on the bottom and 6 on the top. Second Gymkhana pulled that one different. The traces are okay, but it's like there's too many variations, and yes, it's scrubbed. So let's go ahead and see what we did. We used the 303 to cut that and make a duplicate to mimic and duplicate the wornness and the roundness of those, just because it's such an old key. Telltale points is looking at that wear here and here. So a brand new key on the Gymkhana would just destroy it. It'd be too sharp. And when I mean too sharp, like if we look at this test key, see how it's going to be very crisp, very sharp? It'd be too aggressive. It would break that. So what I did is I cut it on the 303, and then I went ahead and I broke the corners here and here and here and here, and I hit it with a spine on a file. Cool. But then I went to the vehicle, worked fine in the door, but not in the ignition whatsoever. Would not work in the ignition. So what's the difference? There's no difference. I noticed that the vehicle, the ignition is pretty rough. It has a bad starter, has everything, all the problems, but I made a key and it worked. So this key works, but it's pretty rough. But I noticed this part is very sanded down and worn just from age, years of rubbing and stuff like that. If we look at a key like from the Gymkhana, see how it'd be all that extra material? So what I did is I hit it on the cutting wheel of that Silca, not the original, but the new one, to sand it down a smidge to duplicate that worn aspect. So instead of all that material, and if you're curious, this tip here is I'm gonna use my fancy pointer. This is a $50 pointer. It's a tracer. Look at that. Oh, geez. So this is a 1 cut. This is a 2 cut. But look at all the extra material. So I had to use the cutting wheel and cut that off to make it fit and make it work. So now in the ignition, smooth, kind of like this one, but the ignition is still bad. I was able to program with the Smart Pro and then also program the remote. It's a manual procedure. This one was toast. What I did is I used this key, which is going to be used to the ignition 4 times to program this, and then we're good. But pretty scary, because if we just cut on the Gymkhana and cranked it in there, that would have broken it. Obviously you check the door and everything first, but that's what we did. We had to break the corners, file the spine, and remove that tip flange or whatever you want to call it to make it go in the ignition and actually turn and be functional. Cool. If you just cut this on the Gymkhana, you're toast. Cool. Other than that, hopefully that helps. Check out the links below for other Honda cutting and also decoding. If you're like, hey, how do I decode a worn key and a key like that? Look at that cool marks right there. Good test key to train yourself. Cool. Other than that, have a great day, and I'll see you next time. See ya. Bye.